This is going to be a slower video going over every viable G-Lotan team. So, I know people complain about my review videos, but I need to finish them, and that's how I finished them. At least they're in-depth and in-detailed. I released a stream right afterwards. I released longer videos showcasing how I played them. This video will have little to no gameplay, just me talking slowly for you guys to understand the team comps. And unlike other retards, let's start with what I used first in my qualifications. Because I actually cleared. This is one, I show this all the time. I'm going to go over her builds and her viable team comps for D-Tide and main story. But first, let me show you all of my clears, all of my testing. I did more than this, but I exit the stage. But I'm clear to see all this alert 5, another alert 5, level 60 Lotan, E0. These are the supports. You don't need these supports. This is during my testing phase. 1 DR proc only, 6 turns battle. Damage recap, 91% G-Lotan, 0 from any other unit. As I was testing her out, this is not her best. I explained these in my other video. I'll explain it again. But this is another alert 5, 4 turns. This is what I recommend. I said so in the video. I think these are other alert 5s. This is me borrowing one to test that. Let me see. This one was 2 turns. So this was me doing it in 2 turns. Boss fight. I think it was also in the video and in the long stream. Borrowing a whale Lotan. You don't need this. You can do it in 2 turns otherwise. This one was... I think it was... Oh, that was just me doing the event. This one was 4 turns. I was testing a few teams here. This one was 2 turns with this. This is the best, one of the best calf comps. I'll go in explaining this in a bit. And I'm just going to show you all my alert 5s. Another alert 5. This is me with a different version. Let me scroll up. And a couple of Pontos testing as well. And I did a couple other things. So let me explain to you the team comps and how to build her for main story. So again, I have a whale that one. I pulled her on stream. So just pretend this is an E0, E3, and just trust when I say what investment level can clear, because I just showed it to you. That's why I showed it to you, because people, if I just go straight into this, people are going to play, no, it only works with plus 12. No, it works with E0, E3. I showed it on stream. If you want to do it, look at the 2+ hours of content I have on her. It's a lot, but I did a lot of runs. So I'm going to simplify to you slowly so you can follow. I don't know how long this video is. I'm going to go for every viable iteration. So, wheel jail. If you're in wheel jail, the best setup for most free-to-play players, if you have enough time in the game, is Jenkins wheel. This is the best wheel jail wheel for her. Without a doubt, there is no question about it. There's no question in my mind that Jenkins rat wheel is the best wheel for her if you are a lower invest player who wants to take a dip into wheel jail. Why? I explained in the video, but I'll explain it slower here. Every time she does damage, there's a 30% chance of her drawing one of her command cards and reducing the cost by 1. Now, it's not every time she plays a card. It's every time she does damage. All of her cards are multi-hit, especially if you rouse her. So, this lets you draw her cards to fill her thing a lot faster. Let's say you played a short blade. You have a percent chance to pull the long blade and then strike, pull the short blade again, etc. This is very important for lower invest G-Lotans. Now, her wheel obviously is her best in slot, but this is very important to fill her up. Now let me go over the best comp, the 2-turn comp that I just showed with a level 60 Lotan. So the best comp for her is the best comp for a lot of high damage units, Caster, but it's not really the he just helps her survive. This is the best comp. It's just use her with Caster. Why? I explained it in the video, but I'll explain it slower. Besides him providing shield, what does Divine Chaos do, class? It buffs the attack and defense values of other units as well. Divine Chaos, that's the realm effect. What else does Divine Chaos do? It gives you 2,000 Key Flare at the start of battle. This is, while not increasing the cost, it takes 2 rouse. I think this thing they changed it. I know they said it's always intended. I think they changed it last minute because people were complaining. Remember, posseing with G-Lotan in Divine Chaos. Posseing with G-Lotan in Divine Chaos costs 2,000 Key Flare. That's a lot of Key Flare. Posseing normally is 1,000 Key Flare. Okay? Rousing is still 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. You can get that extra 1,000. So Whale Caster or just regular caster can benefit from the money relics. It gives poison, counter, or other effects from just rousing. You have a lot of those relics. That's one benefit. It buffs you a lot, and it will help her survive to play her main gimmick. What else? She's one of the best procer of corrosion, caster corrosion. Because with caster corrosion, remember, her main mechanic is playing the short blade 3 times. And then on that same turn, if you play it 3 times, play the long blade. If it's glowing, and you know that after you play the short blade, you cannot play the long blade. Do not touch that short blade, you fucking idiot. Why? It only lasts for 1 turn. Because if you knew English or any language that's translated, you can read this bottom option. Okay? You never want short blade to go into discard pile. If short blade ever falls into discard pile, just exit the stage, restart over. You fucked up. You didn't calculate that. Or pick an easier unit to play, I guess. I think she's easy. So that's one benefit of having caster. So this is technically her best story team. Let's just put a caster. Well, I'm just go over her best ultra story team that I ran. So it's her, caster. What else do you possibly want here? Anyone else. It doesn't matter. You can put in the Horla, you can put in the Daffodil, you can put in the G-Ramona. Just her, caster. All that matters is that the last 2 units, one of them has Saya's Wheel, if not caster. Because to feel her, how I like to do her, how I like to do the 1 turn a riff. So let me explain that, I guess. Let me explain it with G-Ramona. Again, I have videos of me doing this. So let's put a random. I'm just making the best story team. This is Saya's Wheel, and you would put something like this wheel if you have it. And then for the next unit, I would put. Actually, Miriam is also really good. I'll go over that later. This is just the ultra team. So Jenkins works to help you clear mob waves without doing the corrosion. Jenkins works. Cassia works. Daffodil works. So let me just go over Horla. Horla is probably the last slot here. This is probably iteration 1. It's either this or Riker instead of Ramona for her best version. Not Hamill, because Hamill's E2 only reduces the cost. It doesn't actually work with the card I demonstrated in the video. So Horla, let's just have her hold your best DR if it's a plus 12, and Saya's Sigil Wheel. Again, anyone can hold this Sigil Wheel. This is the main bread and butter here, and your best DR wheel here. Your best DR wheel here doesn't matter. So this is a main story team. It's heavily invested, but if you want the best team, this is probably the best story team for her. And obviously you would put Key Flare on Ramona, you would put DR on Horla. So why is this setup recommended? Why do you need Saya Wheel? I sort of explained it. I'm going to go through it slower for you guys here. Again, you want to use Gateway. Turn 1. If you happen to have Short Blade Devour, I showcase it in my video. I'm on my streams. You rouse G-Lotan. You play Short Blade. First, don't play the rouse card. Play the rouse card. It will trigger Gateway. You draw back the Short Blade. That's 6 mana that turn. That is why you want you want the thing. However, if you have Jenkins wheel, how does that combo work? So you play short blade. If it happens to trigger the draw back to short blade again, you do not rouse G-Lotan. You play the reduce 1 mana short blade. Okay? Then you rouse G-Lotan. Then you pull her defense if you don't have a long blade. If you're using dreams, you play the defense, you don't have long blade. You never want to pull a short blade that you can't play that turn. If you let a short blade go into the discard pile, good luck finding it again. Good luck finding it again in your deck. You have to draw through your entire deck in order to pull another short blade, unless you happen to have her strike, not in discard pile. It's incredibly bad if you ever let the short blade go in your discard pile. Really, really bad. That's the worst thing you can possibly do playing G-Lotan. If that ever happens, if it's not on purpose, if it's not like very end of the turn or whatever, just give up on playing G-Lotan. Pick another Awakener. This unit is not for you. But that's why you want the Saya wheel and this wheel. It opens up more combo opportunities. And I showcase most of the combos on stream. It will take me probably a lot of things to showcase combo. These two wheels enable the most combos for G-Lotan. Now, covenants. There's only 2 viable covenants for her. Either Dreams, which is what I recommend for more deadly duels to actually fill up her Exalt. Remember, more of her cards, more deadly duels. Now, second best. If you have a whaled out one, you can use the pure crit damage one with this. You don't want to roll crit rate here. You roll crit damage. This is where you're going to get your crit rate down here. Because crit rate is important. This becomes a strike Lotan. But you only use this if you're extremely whaled out on Lotan. Because then you'll make her a strike DPS rather than an Exalt DPS. Remember, she has very good stat scaling. Most new players, this will not be best in slot for most new players. If you're a new player, if you're low in best Lotan, then most of your damage is not the strike, it's from the Exalt. Because the damage, enemies are going to do more damage to you than you're going to do to them. The weaker your Lotan is. Because that's how her Exalt mechanic is filled. Remember, the spreadsheet I showed in the video. You can just pause that video where I detailed how sigil yield and crit rate and the damage does for G-Lotan. Factually speaking, don't go for strike Lotan if you have an underinvested Lotan. So, if you are I'm super whaled out flares. What's the best wheels? Depends on what game modes you're running. If you are using her in train, which is garbage, I showcase stream. I'll go over why she's bad in a different video. This is just team comp. If you're using train, Riker. Why Riker? Every relic you have, you get 3% crit rate. You can get 30 relics in train. You can get a lot of relics in train. You can get 100% crit rate by just putting in the Riker wheel. Done. That's all of your crit rate you need. If you are not using her in train, none of these sigil yield wheels buff her damage besides Salvador. And there are 0% of you who are going to have this plus 12. So you go into the crit damage wheels you have and pair one of these with her wheel. So you either pick Treasure Rarity for more crit damage, or you pick any one of these other crit damage. This is probably going to be one of the best because she has very high attack stat for this. So she fills up strength. This is probably her best. Dorsine is only if you're using her in Karo. Only if you're using her in Karo. So these two are the next two best. I was experimenting with power of the PS for whatever, but nah. This is not that good because her main wheel only buffs her strike crit damage, not her actual crit damage, so it doesn't synergize well, actually, with Power of the Pious. So that's over her wheel and whatever options. Now I'm going to go through every other team. So, what happens if you don't want to use caster? That's fine. You don't need to use caster. Daffodil. I just showed it clear with the E3 G-Lotan at the beginning of the video where you saw Daffodil. If you're running her with Daffodil, grab Horla, and then grab one of the three main supports for G-Lotan, which is either G-Ramona, Hamel, or Riker. Doesn't matter which, your best one. You will know what is your best one out of those three that you aren't using anywhere else. In story mode, here, hold on. Let me rough. In story mode, I would probably pick G Ramona. Why G Ramona flares in story mode? Or Riker. Either the Riker relic and the money, or G Ramona for the key flare. Sorry, I need to pause. I've been talking too much. I lost my throat. Sorry. Okay. G Ramona. Because G Ramona grabs Key Flare and her defense for the 3 Negan trophy stacks. This lets you strength down enemies and help you survive better. Because it's all about survival. You don't have the caster now. So G Ramona provides the most survivability out of those 3 units. Because if you're a new player, you're going to run this comp. It's not going to do all damage until very later when you scale up enough strength in story. And G Ramona, her defense 3 Negan trophy stacks, if you play her right, I showcase how to play her on stream. Then her defense strength down. Let me show you what it does. This is a D41 strength down. It's going to be very useful and it fills up the key flare. Remember the Divine Chaos? This is not affected by the Divine Chaos restriction. It has an additional text. The text is actually a bit longer than this. But if you consume her defense, it generates extra key flare with 3 Negan trophy stacks. It doesn't say it here, but it does. Just trust me on that. So, yeah, this is what you want. Why Daffodil here, flares? They're both strength scalers. Why Daffodil here is the flex, and he helps buff your G-Lotan's low crit rate if you are a new player. Why? Every kill Daffodil gets with her E2, it permanently increases the team's crit rate by 5% for an exploration stage. So that is a way, because she only gets credit for the first kill. So you don't really want to farm kills on her. You can farm kills on Daffodil, get them low with G-Lotan, and by the boss, you'll have a 100% crit rate if you're farming kills correctly. This is good for a low invest new player to run. To get a 100% crit rate on her, because you're not going to get it because you don't have her plus 12. You don't have the good wheels. So Daffodil is how you're going to buff her crit rate. Now, next build. Let me go. That's basically the 2 viable ultra teams. Let's go over each realm slowly. So we'll remove this. Caro. There are very few Caro comps for her. There are, but I consider them the worst realm out of the 3 realms for G-Lotan specifically. Now, what do I think is the best Caro realm? I showcase in my video. I showcase in my runs. You grab Dies, like always, for a main story team, okay? So let me just explain how this works. Best key flare wheels, whatever key flare wheels you have there. The last 2 slots are whatever. I'm going to explain the Dies G-Lotan interaction again, slowly. So, why do you want Dies? Not because you want to dupe the short blade to play them. No, it doesn't work like that. Because it's individual short blades that feel the thing. Don't do that. Don't do that. Unless you want to build strength gain. The only reason you want to do that is buff the strength gain. No. Dies is providing the key flare. She's providing the vuln and weakness and the super baits. so you can feed her up and to transition her faster. And on a G-Lotan burst turn for a lower invest players, what this dies do, especially if G-Lotan's E0, like I just showed earlier on the stream when I did it with dies with G-Lotan E0, because you won't have the strike, defense, drawing, long, or short blade. You won't have that many of her cards. You won't have Alimus Gain. You won't have power on your G-Lotan. Dies can provide the extra boost so she can actually exalt. So on a G-Lotan burst turn, meaning when you're about to evolve her, you Dies exalt any of her blades. I prefer long blades, any of her blades. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which blade you do. And in this scenario, you grab Lone Seed, not Gateway here. Lone Seed, not Gateway, like I explained. So you'll have a million deadly duels. Remember, it takes a lot of deadly duels. You take 6 deadly duels if you're at 0 ailment. 6.2 or whatever. 6 point whatever. Deadly duels if you're at 0 ailment. You're probably not going to be at 0 ailment, but it takes a maximum of 6 deadly duels. So, by duping her cards, every one of the cards dupe, you always want to dupe her Lone Blade. Because her Lone Blade is retained, it stays in your hand. That means you can use the real Lone Blade for DPS on normal turns you don't have it. And you keep the fake long blades for turns where you already used it to keep up your tempo. On a turn you're about to transform, right before you're about to transform, you Dies Exalt onto the long blade or short blade or whatever blade. I don't give a fuck what you do here. And then when you do it, you transform. You then play the deadly duels. The fleeting deadly duels. That's the reason. So you can keep the real ones in your hand so that when you exalt on her, it transforms back into short and long blades and you can start doing the combo again after you exalt on G-Lotan. That's what Dies does. She helps fill up her mana so she doesn't have to use her real deadly duels. She can use the fake deadly duels to keep up the tempo, to not allow any of her real cards to go into discard pile. Because as long as you don't use any of the real deadly duels, after you finish your thing, you can play the short blade. It will transform back into short blades, strike, and long blades. And you would rather transform it back in your hand or transfer it back in discard pile and to draw for your entire deck to get it again. We're not fucking Kaylee here, dude. So, yeah, that is the combo. What are the last 2 slots? Your best. Whatever you want. All that matters is Dies to fill up her whole thing. Probably don't even need Glad. Dies Lone Seed. Again, Gel uses it, but this is for main story comp. Whatever else you want here. You can use the whatever 2 other units that doesn't steal her mana. All of your mana needs to go to G-Lotan. She's very mana hungry here. So what do I recommend here if you're using this comp for main story? Stun. Can't use Pikmin. 2 mana expensive. Can't use Pikmin. Now, Zoo can actually function. G-Lotan Zoo Poison Team. Why? If you're not Kaylee, if you're not retarded like I showed in my previous video, you would know that her resonance effects, if you rouse her, makes her card 0. Since you're going to play so many G-Lotan cards, guess what? You can fill up Zoo quite easily. And guess what? Zoo's Exalt gives you 3 mana. And she gives the strength down. You can actually use her as a good support in addition to G-Lotan. And with her strength scaling, Zoo, if you have her wailed out, for example, I don't, will inflict a lot more poison with her cards and her Exalt or Over Exalt. That's one option. But if you don't have that, you want cheaper, pick one of the 3 Chaos units I recommended. Hamel, Riker, or G-Ramona. What do I pick in this scenario, Flares? So in this scenario, it's going to be Hamel or G-Ramona. Why not Riker? Dyes will give you enough bone and weaknesses. You don't need the Riker. So, what would Flares use in this scenario? Hamel. Why Hamel? Memory Rondo. Memory Rondo is her reason for existence, and you don't exo on G-Lotan's card unless you have him E2 or you want to play a card and you don't have enough mana. That's emergencies oh shit scenario. You want to exalt onto Dai's 2-cost cards, either to double up on the weakness or bone, get more babies, or fill up ailments to other units, like Hamel for instance, or Aegis. So this is the other main story team, Caro. Obviously, whatever wheels here, you can also put in Tulu wheel here or DR. I don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want. Hamel, you don't need to run Keyflare on him, but you can. But you can run DR on him too. Run DR or Keyflare on Hamel, I don't care. As long as it makes sense. As long as you're not using this wheel. As long as you're using wheels that make sense, like this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense. And this makes sense, obviously. So this wheel in either DR or another Keyflare wheel. Again, your Keyflare bot is going to be Dice, not Hamel. Hamel's just here for his memory rondo. So what do you run on Aegis? This. What do you run on Hamel? DR. DR, unless, very specific scenario, you are a super whaled out Lotan and you want to use this for some reason. Then you can run Dreams on Hamel for more memory rondos. And the Soul Overtures are good. Remember, never delete his Soul Overture unless you're retarded. Why don't you want to delete his Soul Overture? It's Retain. That's good. If you never play it, that's one less card you have to worry about every time your deck recycles. That's one less card you have to worry about drawing. So just keep that in your hand, and you have enough hand space. You have enough hand space. She's not a big hand space unit, fortunately. That's the Caro version. So, blue. What would work with blue? Obviously, I showcased it. Pontos. Last 2 units. Any 2 units you have. Your best 2 units. You can put one of the Chaos or even more blue units that are strong. So, how does the Pontos G-Lotan work? Okay, just imagine this is like whatever other wheel. So, Pontos G-Lotan. How does this work? Well, his gaunts. Oh, it actually doesn't show it here. So, if you remember his gaunts. Slay Gaunt, Vex Gaunt. I forgot the last gaunt name. But one of the gaunts give insights. He acts as a fake Hamel for those insights. In addition, his Slay Gaunt buffs the crit damage. That's very good. She auto crits on Exalt. You can play his Slay Gaunts, and then you can buff her Exalt. You Exalt on her, deal a lot of damage, and then while you're taking insane damage, he can reduce the damage you're taking. And since she scales up strength, his X cards that are also auto crit synergizes very well with G-Lotan. They're both auto crit units. So you can make this the 0 crit rate team, the full crit damage team, and this will wreck most stages. And the last 2 units are whatever helps you survive in order to wreck stages and scale. This is a long scaling team. What's the best support in addition to the regular? Miriam. Why is Miriam the best support? So I tested this on stream in my 2-hour video, but I'm telling you now. Every instance of her Rouse effect triggers the posse. So this is the only unit that can trigger her policy 3 times, because you can use this 3 times. And her card, the Divine Sacrament cards, the Divine Right cards, after you play this 3 times, you can use it to fill up the alimus on these 2 hungry motherfuckers. So Miriam is the best option here. You run her crit damage or DR. Crit damage or DR to fill her up, and she helps fill back up her alimus more. What's the last slot, Flares? Anyone else. But if you want best, if you want good, technically it's G Murphy, but it becomes a G Murphy comp at that point. It becomes a G Murphy. Let's be honest, that becomes a G Murphy comp at that point. Other units notable: Murphy, reduced damage taken, very good. Vortex doesn't synergize at all. Never run Vortex. No one's exulting on this team. Don't run Corpo. You don't want to discard her cards. Unfortunately, you don't want to discard her cards. I feel like I shouldn't even have to explain that. Fucking Goliath works. Goliath works, strength scaling, second option for burst turn. But I would recommend Murphy or one of the Chaos dads. Either Riker or Hamill. Or G Ramona. Pick your best one. You should know what your best one is you have left. And remember, for Posse, you want to go back to Gateway. You want to go back to Gateway in this scenario, not Lone Seed. The Lone Seed is only for the Thighs comp. It's only for the Thighs comp. So let's remove blue. Let's go back to Mono Chaos. If you want to run Mono Chaos G-Lotan, what functions well with her and what doesn't? Tawil works, it becomes a Tawil comp. So, Monchette does not work because remember, the Mortal Strike, whatever, the extra card you play does not count. Doesn't synergize, she demands mana. Remember, you want units that don't demand mana, that can help you draw. So, these 3 are technically one of the optimal, but you kind of want a survivability. So if you're playing Mono Chaos, there are very little in the realms of survivability in Chaos. There's not a lot of good tanks that doesn't use mana in Mono Chaos. So it becomes a kill comp at that point. A DR kill comp. So for Mono Chaos, you only want units that helps her do DPS, because if you're playing Mono Chaos as opposed to Blue, Caro, or Ultra Mix Realms, there is little to no defensive options in Mono Chaos that doesn't use mana. Uses mana, Alva doesn't use mana, but let's be honest. Alva isn't gonna do shit here. So these 3 help kill. If you don't want to use these 3, you can slowly replace them with other Chaos units. So this is the optimal Mono Chaos. This is overkill, but again, if you're using main story mode, if you want a pure damage, this is the Mono Chaos. You just put your best Keyflare wheels on G Ramona. Doesn't matter here. You put DR on Riker. You put Keyflare or DR on Hamill. Whatever your best wheels is. You want to give someone birth. So whoever you're going to play to strike defense, you're going to give birth to. I recommend Riker for Birth of a Soul. Again, Birth of a Soul is a very good wheel. This is main story team. But you can use this for D-Tide as well if you want to overinvest for whatever reason. So I'm going to just equip their wheels blank, and you guys can fill in the blank. Whatever your best DR wheel is on Riker, whatever your best DR or Keyflare wheels is on Hamill. And Birth of a Soul, if you have it, goes on Riker. So, how does this team work and what you can slowly replace? Riker will provide the dice for Vaughn weakness. Riker, Ramona, Hamill will provide the mana and the draw to draw the short blade. And the comp basically plays itself, if you're not retarded. So, if you don't have all 3 and you want to do mono, what are other good suitable options? Karen, obviously. So, Karen, or 24. Now, 24 is really good in this comp because even though the posse doesn't count, she scales up strength, and mono 24 lets you generate more key flare. Part of her kit a little bit, and it's an additional source of damage on top of Lotan. So mono 24 works here. Loss of damage. What else works? Karen for the mana, obviously. And I tested it. Base Lotan if you have her OE. Y flares. With the way this team works, with the posse and with the key flare, if you have enough key flare for your main story team, eventually you're going to get the overexalt on main Lotan. And she's there for the dispel weakness. You don't have the caucus here. You're going to have weakness applied to you for most bosses. Lotan's exalt dispels weakness. Other notable mentions here that does work. Ogier, it's awful, but it works because his X card, you can treat it as a 0 mana card. For other turns, you can put in Ogier, and you are going to proc DR at least once, so he's going to give you a lot of strength on his Exalt. So, Nautilus, not because she's good or anything, you're not going to fill her up, her Exalt hard, it's because of no trespassing and short-term memory. Why these two cards flares? These help you survive or generate alienness. So this is, you fill up the Hamel with short-term memory and no trespassing. Why is this good? You're not playing this for defenses. No. Retain, prepare. That's also why Karen is good. Because if you fuck up, these cards are in your hand. They have retain. If cards are in your hand and they have retain, when you reshuffle your deck, you don't have to draw them again. It just pretend they are deleted from the game. And if you have to use them, God forbid, you have to use them for the defense, you can. But you can keep them in your hand to not draw them again. That's the power of retained cards. Now that goes over every viable G-Lotan story team. It's a longer video, shorter video. I don't know how long this is. I'm going to upload this. So hope that explains it slowly.